this episode of the Holy Hand Grenade podcast.
Which would mean
Okay, all right.
that
Egyptian customs, right?
he
Uh-huh.
was mummified.
What?
He was mummified.
Ew, gross. This is going to be a gross episode, guys. Just please be prepared for that.
Wait till we get to the Egyptian part.
Yeah. Ugh.
The point of all of this was to make them look as alive as possible.
Yeah, I bet they did not even come close to
I
looking
don't
alive.
think it would have worked
That
very
sounds
well, to be
nasty
honest.
as all get out.
I think you would be able to see a live person and look at that and be like,
No,
that ain't right.
that's a dead person.
That's a dead person.
Yeah. It breaks my heart to think about the idea that only the rich would have a good afterlife. Welcome to this episode of the Holy Hand Grenade podcast. Today we're talking about mummies in the Bible.
Mummies.
Somebody's excited. That's great.
So cool. Okay, sorry.
Most Christians will read through Genesis many times and never see this. Let's go ahead and pull that pin.
Pull the pin.
We have the Holy Hand Grenade. Yes, of course.
Welcome to Bible study.
Study what?
The Bible.
What was that you said?
Those Bibles aren't going to study themselves.
Is correct, yes. That is what I've been saying.
Oh Lord, bless this thy hand grenade.
So, whenever we think about Jacob, we think Israel, we think patriarch, we think father of the tribes.
Right?
But what the vast majority of Christians don't know is what happened to Jacob after he died.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all the way at the end of Genesis, chapter 49, Jacob is on his deathbed. And he calls all of his sons, his 12 sons, to him, and he prophesies over them. And then he curls up in bed and he dies. So that's where we're picking up at in Genesis chapter 50.
And this is kind of our main text
Yeah,
for today.
we're just going over these two verses.
Just two verses.
Yeah.
And it tells us a lot of information.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so chapter 50, verses 2 and 3. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. So the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed.
Right.
And the Egyptians mourned him for 70 days.
Perfect.
When Jacob dies, Joseph has his father embalmed by the customs of the Egyptians for 40 days, which would mean
Okay. All right.
that
Egyptian customs, right?
he
Uh-huh.
was mummified.
What?
He was mummified.
Get out of the Dodge.
Yeah. Yep. He was mummified. And this is very widely accepted. This isn't like some super weird fringe wackadoodle thing.
Right.
It's actually pretty well established and accepted by scholars.
And yet you don't hear about it very often because, I mean, you can breeze past these two verses, nothing, no problem.
Yeah. And it's funny because Jacob's not the only one. There's another one in the Bible too, which we're going to talk about at the end.
There's two mummies.
There's two mummies in the
That's
Bible.
right.
Yep.
That is so cool. Okay, so let's take a closer look at what the Jewish customs were for handling their dead, how they would take care of them. So in fact, embalming is super rare. The only examples are right here in Genesis 50, and both examples are in the same chapter. That's really important. Now, what the Jewish people would do is the burial was immediate. So not like 40 days of embalming and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they would get the body in the ground within 24 hours.
They're like, done deal. Then they're going to wash the body, wrap the body with linen, use spices to honor the dead, and mask the odor because dead bodies.
They'd be stanky.
Ew, gross. This is going to be a gross episode, guys. Just please be prepared for that.
Wait till we get to the Egyptian part.
Yeah. Then they'd be placed in a tomb or a grave at that point. And then 1 year later, after the flesh had kind of decayed, they would come collect the bones and go ahead and place it into an ossuary.
Right.
So that's what was going on, what was normal for them. The point was not to preserve the body, though, for them. That wasn't a big deal. That didn't really matter to the Jewish people. They believed, we return to dust. In fact, Genesis 3:19 says, "For you are dust, and to dust you shall return."
Mm-hmm.
And then God will return to raise them, to the resurrection.
Exactly. So in contrast, we're going to talk about the Egyptian customs and what they would do to mummify, just because it's fun.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get really gross.
It's really fun, though.
So if you're not into that kind of thing, just, plug your ears or something. Nasty.
It's yeah. Well, I mean, it's
Oh, go ahead and tell us step one.
It's not too bad if you don't think about it too much. So let's see how many people we can gross out.
There you go.
Yeah. So step one was to remove the brain from the body.
And how do you remove the brain from the body?
You kind of, it comes out the nose. I won't do super detailed on how, but they would get it to come out the nose. But one reason why I mention it is because it's very interesting. It's funny to me. They would actually discard the brain. They would keep all the other organs, and we'll talk about what they do with them. But they would discard the brain because they thought it was useless. They actually thought, the Egyptians thought that emotion, intellect, morality, everything was in your heart, not in your brain.
It's so interesting that like I saving like the gallbladder versus like discarding the brain.
Getting rid of the brain.
You know, like that's just so bizarre to me.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah.
So the next step is that they will cut open the abdomen and remove all the organs, and then they will dry all the organs individually with natron, which is natural salt.
Okay.
So they'll compact it with each organ with this salt and let it dry out, and then they'll put each organ into a different jar. Yeah. So after that, then they would dehydrate the entire body.
See, that's the part that I've got a really big problem with. Yeah.
Really? Wasn't the brain
Yeah.
thing?
Well, no. Okay. That one too. Yeah. But it's like this idea of just like the drying out the flesh of the body. And
yeah. So they would do it that salt. They would take the body and they would bury it in the salt for 40 days.
40 days.
So when we look back to Genesis chapter 50, verse 3, and it said that they embalmed Jacob for 40 days. Historically, in Egyptian culture, they would actually embalm and desiccate the body with this salt for 40 days.
Interesting.
So the Bible lines up perfectly with the Egyptian history there. And it's proof that they actually mummified Jacob.
That's crazy.
Wow. So cool. Okay, so after the 40 days, they would pull the body out of the salt.
Yep.
And it would be kind of like these sunken in. So they would take various things and stuff it into the chest and the abdomen and to kind of puff them back up. Yeah.
I'm picturing like a bicycle pump, like, you know, and then it's like, well.
Don't overinflate.
Oh.
So, but then what they would do is after stuff in the body, they would replace the eyeballs with stones or polished rocks, stones, or onions, apparently.
Onions? Like, why would
onions.
you do?
I don't know.
Like,
and
when
it's
I
funny.
was reading through this, I'm just like, why onions?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I was thinking about like onions when they sit, they sprout. So I'm just like,
those like some.
And I just talked about this with I just taught this. We finally finished Genesis. Oh my gosh. But this
with your ladies' Bible study.
Yeah, the ladies' Bible study. Sorry, for our regular listeners, they'll know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so I just taught this to them and they were like, it would be like eyelashes. I'm like, gross.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it was anyways. And then they would, I think the worst part is this, that they would anoint the skin with oils and resins to kind of polish them up and rehydrate. Because the point of all of this was to puff them back up and do the stones and all this was to make them look as alive as possible.
Yeah, I bet they did not even come close to looking alive.
I don't think it would have worked very well.
That sounds nasty as all get out.
I think you would be able to see a live person and look at that and be like,
no,
that ain't right.
That's a dead person.
That's a dead person.
Yeah.
That's not,
No.
So I don't think they did the best they could. But the next part is the wrapping. So this is what we all think about the mummies.
Right.
So they would be wrapped in these linen strips and then lots of wrapping. They would wrap and wrap and wrap the body.
Like it could be hundreds of yards, right, of linen.
Yeah. For the rich guys that they could, I guess, afford more linen.
So they're actually like extra poofy mummies versus.
I was picturing like any like knitters or crocheters out there or anything and you like wrap up your yarn into a ball and I'm just like picturing like a guy inside of like a wrapped up ball of linen or something. Like if he was super rich, he'd just be like a round ball.
Like a mummy that's been wrapped a couple of times and like, that's a poor man's mummy.
That's a poor man's mummy. Oh man, poor guy. Okay, now so then after they would wrap the mummy, they would pour hot resin over the entire thing to kind of seal in everything and to secure the wrappings and everything. And then they would place it into a wooden coffin inside of a coffin inside of a coffin. So it's like Russian nesting dolls.
Russian nesting dolls.
Like coffin.
I love it.
Yeah.
See, that part's not gross. That's just kind of funny.
See, that freaks me out though. For some reason, the nesting coffins just to me
Really?
is, I don't like that.
No, that's the part that I like.
that.
I enjoy. I'm like, how many coffins is it? You know,
Let's see.
Why?
Peel open the coffins.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
That's like an unwrap situation, you know, or, you know, like the ungift or the what are the unboxing videos and stuff. Like, it's a mummy.
What did I get? And then the final thing that they would do is put all those coffins into a sarcophagus.
Okay.
And then they would seal the sarcophagus shut. So that is the full process of mummification.
One thing I forgot to ask about is the death mask.
Oh, I forgot to add.
Was
yeah,
it
that's
like
in
the
my
King
notes.
Tut, right? Like the golden death mask.
So yeah, they would do that. They would, and depending on how rich they were, it would be gold, of course, for a pharaoh, or it could be a different metal, or it could be wood or something, but it would be painted with a face on it.
Because that's something like that is the quintessential thing that
for mummies.
when I'm thinking Egypt, I picture pyramids, death mask, you know, that kind of stuff.
Thanks for bringing that up because I did mean to. That is in my notes.
That is cool.
Yeah. So this whole process from death to sarcophagus was actually 70 days.
Exactly.
And exactly what it said in Genesis 50, verse 3, that it said that they mourned him for 70 days. So the entire process lasted for 70 days. So it's another point towards him actually being mummified.
That's so specific and right on the mark with what the tradition
40
is.
and 70.
So that is beautiful. What it also makes me think of, well, a couple of different things. One, it breaks my heart to think about the idea that only the rich would have a good afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
if you could afford to,
what
do
was
the
your bank account
mummification.
look like, or what's your bank account look like, or different aspects of your life, wealth, fame, fortune, whatever it was, and just being able, like, oh man, just what a heartbreaking thing. Like if you're a poor person, you just cross your fingers and be like, I hope it works out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But they were able to, the wealthy people and the influential people were able to kind of like, do these special things to go through there,
Right.
and make sure. So I think that's important. And heartbreaking when I look at that. But then also I think it's interesting to look at the fact that Jacob was a nomadic shepherd.
Yeah.
So, I mean, truly in the Egyptian culture, shepherds were like an abomination. They were just like absolute vile members of society, like, get out of here, ew, take you and your sheep and get out of town kind of thing.
And that's actually in scripture. The Egyptians said that they were abominations.
Right.
Yeah. So that's biblical.
And it's terrible to be able to see like how they would treat a shepherd. But what's fascinating is when you mention the 70 days necessary for Jacob's process, the pharaohs would get 72 days of mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave basically the honor that they would give to a pharaoh, they gave to Jacob, a nomadic shepherd. And just showing the impact that Joseph and Jacob have had on their lives and on their country. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And then to go and take him 300 miles away.
It was a long way to Machpelah.
Machpelah, yeah, exactly. To be buried with Abraham, Sarah, Isaac, Rebecca, and Leah.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that the Canaanites, recorded in the Bible, the Canaanites observed the procession that they were carrying him 300 miles away. They observed it and they called it the mourning of the Egyptians.
Yeah.
So not only did they go through and give him this great honor in Egypt, but many of the Egyptians went with them on this 300-mile journey to go bury him. That's impact.
Mm-hmm.
That is a huge, huge impact.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So then the question is why would the Egyptians go through this very long, very difficult, very gross, process to preserve bodies? And they believed that you had to have your body in the afterlife to be able to continue to exist. So if your body decayed or was destroyed, then you just ceased to exist in the afterlife. They believe you had to have your body, so they would do everything they could to preserve the body so that you could take it into the afterlife with you.
If I believe that, you better believe I would be trying to preserve my body, you know?
Well, yeah. And
that'd be super important.
Yeah, and part of their religion, why they left the heart in the body, is because when they died, they would go and stand before Osiris, and Anubis, the dog-headed guy, would take the heart and weigh it on the scales, and they would weigh it against the feather of Ma'at.
Okay.
And so if it was heavier than the feather, then you were sinful, and your heart would be like Anubis would just like eat your heart. And be like, and like eat your heart, and you just cease to exist.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, but if it was lighter than the feather, then you got to keep it, and you get your body, and you get to exist in the afterlife. But
what, like, the kind of pressure that you would have to deal with, not knowing, like, as you're going through life, did I make it?
yeah,
Am I good enough? Is my heart going to be light enough? Did I make enough money, enough fame, fortune, do enough good things? Whatever it is that's going to be considered, like, that kind of pressure would be, I mean, it would absolutely, I would dread death. I would dread death. And I would spend most of my life just in fear.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the basis of every other religion, but other than Christianity,
Yeah.
because Jesus did it for you.
We can know in this life.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you bring it up, though, because the physicians or the priests or whatever that would be wrapping the body, wrapping the mummy,
Right.
would actually say spells and incantations over it as kind of like cheat codes to make their heart lighter.
Oh, dude.
So that they would be able to, so, you know, it's like
So-
up, triangle, R1, L2, circle, like.
Gotcha, Anubis.
Yes.
He's like, "Gah."
Cheat code.
Yeah, go eat somebody else's heart. Gotcha. It's
Yeah,
so
it's like they're
weird to
trying
me.
to trick the gods.
I think it's weird to me the fact that you have a god in your mind that you think you can trick.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
It's not much of a god.
That's not much of a god to me.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. So preservation wasn't optional for them. It was for existential survival. And mummification was their salvation system.
That makes so much sense.
That's
That's
why they
why it
made
was such a
mummies.
huge priority.
Yeah. And why the rich people, you know, had the longer bandages and wrapped up bigger balls of people.
Now for Jacob, you know, obviously he didn't buy into this belief system. You
Yes.
know, I think that's important to be able to point that out, that even though this is important to their belief system, Jacob wasn't a part of that.
Yeah. And to also, I want to emphasize that we don't know to what degree these processes were done on Jacob. So he may have just been embalmed for 40 days and that be it. We don't know if any of the other things were done to him, like his organs being removed. I'm certain that they would not say these spells and incantations over his body. Joseph was the one who was overseeing this. He never would have done that. So I just want to emphasize that
Yeah,
to the
that's
listeners,
really important.
that
It's not like they
we're
bought
not
in.
claiming that Jacob had,
Left
anyways.
the one true God.
Yeah, that
Yahweh,
it
so.
was blasphemous or, you know, sorcery, witchcraft, whatever, that they were not, they were not participating in
It was
that.
just
so.
their way of honoring him, and
Right.
it was so much respect for him. And I
Right.
think that was huge. That was awesome, you know. And he wasn't the only one. We mentioned at the beginning of the
No.
episode that there's actually two
There's two.
that were made into mummies.
Two
The other
mummies.
one was his son,
Yeah.
Joseph.
Yep.
So when Joseph dies, they actually carry out the mummification process for him too.
Yeah.
And when you realize what happens with Joseph, you realize how important it was that happened.
Yes.
Because he wasn't buried immediately. In fact, the children of Israel would become enslaved by the Egyptians years later, after they had forgotten about Joseph and Jacob and the different things that they had done for them. And 400 years of slavery would take place. They would actually enslave the Jewish people. And all the way through that slavery, Joseph was
He's still
been
there.
mummified. So I don't know if you keep him in a closet or if like
Where
what, like
they keep
what do you
Joseph
do for 400
at?
years? But anyways, you got like, you know,
Yeah.
dead
We
guy.
do know he wasn't buried, though. It does
Yeah.
emphasize at the end of Genesis, is verse 26 of chapter 50. It says, so Joseph died being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So he's put in a coffin, but he was not buried. We see later that he is buried. So
Yeah, when the Jewish people left, you know, they left Egypt.
Yeah.
God freed them from that. Moses leads them out. They actually took the mummy of Joseph with them.
Yeah.
And then they get stuck in the wilderness for 40 years. So they're pulling this
Wandering
mummy
around.
around. I mean, it was a really good thing that
Yeah.
it was a mummy because, you know, it sun-dried dead people, not a good idea.
And I could imagine like the groaning and everything of like people waking up, be like, it's my turn to carry great granddaddy Joseph. It's like, I don't want to carry him today.
It's Tuesdays. Shoot, I hate Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like just trying to get away from Pharaoh's army as you're trying to make it across the Red Sea.
Go.
Let's go. Come on, Grandpa. Let's go. So, I mean, that's what I was picturing, kind of getting like the coffin stuck in the mud or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, that's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
But it is fascinating to be able to see that this is what happened. And they ended up burying Joseph in Shechem.
Right. Yeah.
So he went with them.
So to wrap it up, I thought we could
Mummy pun.
We're going to wrap this up with
That's
the
right.
gospel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to go with it. I
Yep.
think that's really important. Egypt believed that eternity depended on preservation.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bible teaches that eternity depends on the resurrection.
Mm.
That's a huge difference. Unlike the Egyptians, the Bible teaches that all who believe are welcome into heaven, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their status.
Mm. Amen.
Egypt weighed the heart to see if you're good enough. The gospel says that Christ was weighed in our place, and that God will resurrect and redeem our bodies to perfection for the afterlife.
Yeah. Egypt put their hearts on a scale. God put his son on a cross.
Amen.